As teachers, we can always improve. So here are 30 teaching tips to help us as we continue to get better. My name is Drake. I've been teaching for about 15 years now, and I had a teacher of 35 years come in and watch my classroom and help me form these tips. So hopefully they're helpful for you. Let's dive right in. First things first, we talk differently to the people we love. So actually love the people and visualize something you love that brings you joy right before talking to them. That tends to help quite a bit. The second thing is to have simple rules and a mission statement. Why are we here? What are we doing? And what can we expect from one another? And have that drive everything that we do. Well, as I mentioned, I've been teaching for a number of years now. First thing is that we want to improve yearly. We don't want to be plateaued in our progress. We want to continue to get better every year. Second thing is that we have unique kiddos. Everyone learns differently, everyone has a different sense of humor, bonds different, gets corrected differently, so the way we treat them needs to be unique. Third thing is if you can have a funny object to pass around with them. I've had some things that were gifts that people made me, and I used those. And so for what we did last year, we had marbles in a marble jar, so once we got 5, you get a prize of a snack. And then after 30, I actually had a gift. I wrapped it up and I set it at the front of the classroom. So they didn't know what it was, but it helped motivate them that if they stayed on track, they could open that up at their winter break. Next thing is having a good sense of humor with the kids, laughing with the kids, while having high expectations with them. There's a tension or a balance there. When both are found, there's a lot of bonding and strength that happens with them. And so when we show that we have a high level of interest, if we care about the students, they tend to care more about our materials. We'll talk about how that care is shown a little more later, but conversations before class really is what has helped the most. I have done surveys from the students and I asked them, what have you found most helpful in your time here together? And I kind of did a heads down, hands up, and kind of heads up, 7 up kind of thing. And unanimously what I found was talking before class just about their lives. We would do prayer requests, but it got them to share, and once they realized we cared, they tend to care a lot more about the subject. They asked for an extra religion class this year. Last year we had a lot of our students want to get baptized, so God is working in these ways, and these tips have been helping quite a bit where they want more class time together. When you run into a student that's having some trouble, particularly in classroom engagement, behavior, anytime that you can say, can we talk one-on-one, and you pull them aside and you say, can you help me understand? And you have them help solve the problem with you. That way they're having some initiative, they're having some engagement, they're having some personal vested interest in how the solution is being taken care of. As far as correction goes, anytime we can do that one-on-one and not embarrass them in front of their peers, but help them keep their dignity and build their reputation, that goes a long way in building your relationship and theirs. So correction, generally, I try to do one-on-one. If you can pull in another student, if you're in a place where it's just you and the student, so you have someone else seeing what's going on. The other way you can do it is during class. I was told you can actually just whisper to the student. That tends to actually get more of a reaction than raising our voice. But whispering to them and talking to them on that one-on-one way. And again, anytime there's praise, do that publicly, but correction we try to do privately as we're able. Next thing is, teaching is all about relationships. I say relationships have to be strong enough in order to bear the weight of truth. And so the stronger you can build those relationships, the more information can get to them and the more correction can get to them in the long run. So the stronger your relationships are, the more we're able to give to the students. The next thing is a little bit more of that tension of how do we maintain both being kind and having high expectations. Those high expectations probably come first, the kindness through that, but that can shift more and more so towards the friendship, the relationship side with the students as you talk to them, almost like younger siblings or family members that you're helping raise up. By the way, one of the best quotes I've ever heard is, don't look at somebody where they are, look at them as where they could be, and they'll become what they should be. So if all you see is, well, this is how they're behaving, this is how they're gonna be, they might stay in that place. But if you see in them something they don't see in themselves, they might become something more than they ever thought they could be. Questions lead to ownership. This is the Socratic method. Anytime that you tell somebody something, it sinks into a certain level. But if you want them to know something, if you ask them the question and they discover the answer, they tend to go, oh, this is my idea. This is a great idea. Well, you might help lead them to that idea, but when they realize it's theirs, they tend to run with it and remember it. So questions lead to ownership. Next, age is about how long they're able to pay attention in minutes. If they're 11 years old, they might be able to pay attention for about 11 minutes. And so it's a rough rule, but as we'll talk about later when we talk about brain breaks, if they can pay attention about that long, give them a break, have them stand up, have them do a different activity so that you can continue for 45 minutes, for an hour, but keeping them engaged throughout. Next, having a syllabus is really helpful so that you know we're on track with these things. So if you have a lesson plan that says, we're gonna get through this entire subject, start with the subject and backpedal and go, well, I wanna end up here, so I'm gonna have to break up the pages and chapters in this amount. So I know we have to catch up, we have to slow down wherever we're at, and they know what to expect. For us, I was really excited. This is actually the first time I've had any group of any age that's reading through the entire New Testament. And so far we've stayed on track without any homework because we did exactly that. We planned at the beginning of the year, we said this is what's most important. And so now, without any homework, they're just reading 2 chapters of the Bible or 2 pages a day, and they're gonna be through the whole New Testament in just a year. So really excited about that. And the other thing is being really intentional about our assignments. I have to remind myself often, because I try to respect the students' time as much as I can by not assigning a lot of homework, that the homework I do assign, the papers, the projects, which of those have helped shape me in the past? How can I assign something similar with a similar format of the instructions, a similar due date? What's worked for me in the past that's actually helped me learn more about a subject? How can I do that for my students? Next thing is, tying life into visuals. Jesus, when he taught, he often looked at the things around him and he said, yeah, a city on a hill can't be hidden. He's probably pointing at a hill. Or he talks about, salt, if it's lost its taste, he's probably looking at salt on the ground. So anything that we can tie in and use a visual, use a prop, and even more than that, make it an experiential one. So you're not just hearing about, well, here's an analogy with what you're talking about. It's kind of like a burrito if you've ever gone to, and you just leave it there. Well, that doesn't help so much. But if you say, but if you ever gone to Chipotle or your favorite Mexican place and you talk about that and you get them to connect it, it gives them another neural pathway. So every time they think about Chipotle, they might think about this. And you make it fun, you talk about it and you describe it and you go, well, this part's kind of like the guac. Do you guys like that? And you go back and forth. But even more than that is if you can help them experience it by taking a piece of paper, coloring it in and wrapping it up, or getting physical food, bringing it in, and those analogies will help them drive it home because they've experienced it. Same thing, I tend to have them act out the stories that they're learning very often. They love to volunteer, they love to act it out, and anytime they can be engaged with more than just their ears, but their bodies, that tends to help them remember whatever the lesson was. Next thing is to put the lesson on the board, just like this. And the other thing that's gonna do is when they're lost, they can come back to it. For you, you can know, okay, this is about how much I have. Okay, this is the percentage we are through. Are we above time? Are we behind it? And that'll help you know how far and how fast you have to go. Compliments. Give authentic praise. There's nothing worse than false flattery. This just trying to help make them feel good for your own sake or whatever reason. Make it really authentic. A few parts to compliments. One, if you can do so in a way that complements their talents, something that they've been working hard on, their efforts, that deeper level of something they've pushed for is gonna help them. The second thing is to make it specific, not you're doing a good job in general, but I love how you engaged in this and you used this level of confidence in your speaking, and the specifics will help, as well as being really heartfelt. So all of those things will help as you give authentic praise. The other piece of this, just because I want to make sure I touch on this, this is so crucial for kids that are doing well and those who are struggling more. You want to catch them doing the right thing. Catch them doing the right thing. I can't emphasize this enough. It's one of the best teaching tips I have. I haven't had to do any disciplinary work this year, which last year and a half I haven't, which I'm really grateful for. No circles, no one sent to the office, not because there haven't been problems, but because the relationship's been built up. But the other thing is, anytime they do something well, I go, look at so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, they're all doing blank. And the rest of the kids that are talking or busy doing something else, they'll go, oh, I kind of want that kind of compliment. And then they'll start doing it. And especially anyone who you really struggle with in the class or that's a little bit harder of a student, catch them doing the right thing, compliment them, lift them up, and then they go, I have a reputation to live up to. I like the way that felt more than being corrected. They might start moving toward that more often. Authentic praise. Next, speak with authority and also being okay with saying, I don't know. Let me look that up for you. That's a really good question. And write it down and do loop in back with them. Anytime that we say, I'm going to do something, try to keep your word to the best of your ability. Apologize when we don't, if you forget to follow up on something, but speak with authority. One thing that they loved about Jesus is they said, he doesn't teach like the Pharisees and the scribes, but he teaches with authority. Don't be afraid to lean into having confidence, to speaking with power. Sometimes in the past, because I have not wanted to err on the side of arrogance, we tend to err on the side of being smaller or quieter because we think that lifts them up. I would say the opposite is true in that while we need to have a humble heart posture before the Lord and be confident in who he's made us to be, walk into the room and know that God sent you there. It's your ability, it's your job to bring your best to them. And the better you are, the more you bring to it, the better they look and they go, wow, I brought on somebody who is doing a great job out here. And so bring your very best. Don't be afraid to be authoritative. Don't be afraid to speak with power because it's not yours. It's not lifting you up. It's lifting them up and speaking with the power that he's given you. So speak with authority. Don't be afraid to say that I don't know. And next thing to keep in mind, downtime tends to lead to trouble. One thing that I noticed is as they walked into class, it changed this from one year to the next. Again, we're improving yearly. When they walked in, they would kind of dilly-dally and they'd spend time with their lockers and they'd grab their stuff and they'd sit down and they'd keep talking, they'd keep whispering. And one of the best tips that I found was have the students say, here's the clear expectations. I put this out on my computer every single day so the students see this. And the clear expectations of things you don't think you need to explain of walk into the classroom quietly and respectfully. Put away your stuff, walk to your desk, have out your notebook, your Bible, your pencil, have them open to the right page, and begin reading quietly for the rest of the day. And whenever we go through this, I delete a word and I have them say the blank out loud so they're engaged and regularly go through this. And anytime they really start goofing off and they have too much downtime and it starts getting them in trouble, I go back to this. Again, I have those high expectations and I say, is that really the best that we could do? You guys can do better than that. Come on, let's try it again. We can do right, you can do better. That sort of fun challenge, which we'll talk about a challenge later, that competition leads to engagement, that sort of thing helps them do better in a way that makes them feel good about it. One of the best things that I love to do is in any interaction that I have, I had a student, they opened up the door for me earlier. Well, only adults, parents, teachers, they're supposed to be able to open the door. How do I correct them in a way that makes them actually feel better after the interaction? Not that they don't just feel bad, but that builds up a relationship and helps them feel better and good about it. So I say, hey, that was so nice of you. Thanks so much for grabbing the door. That was awesome. That's a really good thing to practice. Hey, just so you know, in the future, we should probably let the teachers, the parents do that. But that's awesome. Make sure you keep doing that when we're not at school. But anything you can do to build them up as we correct them is going to be huge. And so with that, eliminate downtime as much as you can. Give them structured downtime. Allow them to spend time with their peers. Allow them to bond. But don't do so in ways that are unintentional. Intentional downtime. And let them know that you're in it with them. If you show up and you're tired or not at your best, it can be helpful for them to see you're not perfect. You don't have it all together, and they shouldn't feel like they have to either. Move toward their best, but it's progress, not perfection, that we're seeking. And with that, meet them where they're at. Realize that they're not always going to be at their best. And have strategies, switch it up. I've known teachers that have completely changed their strategy, how they talk to the kids, what they do, play experiments, see what works. Because for that helps meet them where they're at on some of the days where it's not as easy. Next, we want to seek to be humble, authentic, and passionate, because there's nothing worse than being prideful, fake, and boring, right? In that vein, I would encourage you to take a look at anybody you studied under in the past and go, this person was awesome. This was my favorite teacher. These were my favorites. And these were a little bit more like nails in the chalkboard hard. Okay, well, my dad would say, what are 3 things about each of those teachers that you really enjoyed, studied under, learned a lot from, respected, and what were 3 qualities that made it really difficult to work with them, to bond with them? And once you do, I would say, take a picture of them, and I've done this with my professors. I took their pictures off the directory, and then next to those, I wrote down some of the best qualities that they had, and so passively, as I walk by and I see that, I go, this is why I really like and respect that person. How can I emulate that and pray that the Lord makes me like those people in those ways? Be humble, authentic, and passionate. Especially for middle school, the age that I teach, and honestly for any age, people in general really struggle with empathy, with putting themselves in someone else's shoes, being gentle with other people. And so teaching them empathy is going to be huge. I would add that in addition to teaching empathy for others, we really struggle with giving that to ourselves. One of the best things that I've heard, how would you treat your best friend if they showed up late to class, if they didn't turn in their assignment, if they said something that hurt someone else and they had the foot and mouth disease where they said something they didn't mean, how would they treat themselves? Or how would you tell them that probably wasn't the best or you should correct it? Would you call them a name like you might call yourself? Would you call them unintelligent or less nice words for how would you talk to them? They go, well, I'd be pretty compassionate. I'd be pretty nice about it. I'd probably be pretty understanding. And it's like, well, why don't we do that for ourselves? And so sometimes you have to walk people through that process of here's how we should be treating others and ourselves. Because when we're being harsh to others, oftentimes it's a red flag or a signal that there's something wrong about how we're talking to ourselves. Teaching empathy. Anytime we can avoid it, we need to learn not to yell, not to raise our voice, because eventually that higher volume, they just become attuned to. There's a lot of reasons we don't do it. That's one of them. It doesn't eventually help you. This teacher that I got a chance to talk with that I learned so much from would use a whistle to get the kids' attention. So whatever you can do to avoid yelling is going to be a good thing. Next thing, to establish the rules at the beginning. What I would do with the students, especially for the first couple of weeks every time, and then every time we get off base, I come back to this and I have them repeat parts of this out loud. I use hand gestures to engage their body so that it's more than just the cognitive that's involved, but the somatic, the body's involved too. My rules are, number 1, we show respect. Treat others, how would Jesus treat that person? Yeah, I know they're being difficult. I know they're picking their nose. I know they said whatever, but how would he treat them? Okay, how would you want him to treat you if you were that person? All right, let's show respect to one another. Also, this is somebody that Jesus loves, that he died for. Let's keep in mind that they're valuable enough that God gave his life for them. Second, we want to focus our eyes, our minds, and our bodies. And then you give examples. If I'm doing this as you're talking to me, does it seem like I care about what you're saying, like I'm listening to you? Well, probably not. And you make it funny with them, slouch a lot and whatever. And then just say, well, what would show me that you care about them? How would you listen to your best friend if they're telling you something exciting? Let's try to listen in those ways. And that'll help them in the workplace when they're with their friends, their relationships down the road, when we teach them to focus in those ways. It's not going to help you when Jimmy's telling you about something, you're thinking about pepperoni pizza, or we always used to say in Taekwondo, or your boyfriend or girlfriend, you're talking to little kids and they go, gross, and you go, because we don't date till 1, and they go, after college, sir. It was just silly. So show respect, focus your eyes, mind, and body. And for the little kids, I really like this. We say we have 2 rules. And we say rule number 1, we go, shh. And they go, shh. Rule number 2, and you go, eyes. And you go, don't poke yourself in the eye. But 1 and 2. So different levels for different ages. Third is God disciplines those he loves. And then I talk to them about a coach, who's in basketball, who's in volleyball, who's in this. And I go, do they always tell you the nice stuff, or do they sometimes tell you stuff you don't want to hear? Well, are they doing that to be a bully? They want you to be better? Okay, so when we do correction in class, it's to help build you up and make you better, like a better athlete. Last thing is we got to make sure we don't talk while other people are talking. And I don't talk while you're talking. This goes both ways. Because you have valuable insights. When you tell me something and I'm talking to somebody else, I can't hear the great ideas that you have, and it doesn't show you that respect. So let's be careful. We raise our hands, right? We take turns, and everybody, look at Owen. Owen's doing a really good job looking over at Addie as she's talking. And then they all start, oh, let me do that. It's like, why is nobody looking? What are we doing? Just praise the one who's doing the right thing. All right, next. We had established the rules at the beginning. The other part of that, that's the law part of it. I always go to the gospel, or at least the why. Why are we doing this? My number one goal is that they would know Jesus and then know facts. It doesn't help you a whole lot if you just know a whole bunch of stuff about Jesus, a bunch of stats, but you don't know him personally. So we drive into a relationship with him so we can be lifelong Christians. The second goal of this, or the second gospel, is that we would both be lifelong Christians who know the story of everything from Genesis to Revelation, that we know Jesus, but we also do what he commands us to do. So we're people living out the Christian faith. I'll get into some of the routines and stuff later. Give them a chance to correct. So whenever there's behavior that needs fixing, again, whether it's lining up in the hallway, you make it challenging, you make it fun, you talk to them one-on-one, you whisper, anything we can do to make it easy, and then give them a golden bridge to retreat on. Sun Tzu would say, give them a golden bridge to retreat on. Give them a way to correct it that makes them look better, that makes them feel good, and makes it easy. Instead of being harsh with them, make the correction easy. Make it go like, this is the easier path for you. You can go that way. It's not going to go, but right, give them an easy way to correct it and give them time. So often we talk about this in our relationship with God, instant perfection versus patient relationship. What do we want from him? Hey, well, God, I'm in this situation. Somebody's sick. I got to fix this. We go, God, why aren't you instantly fixing this? I want perfection. I want it now. And then God turns and looks at us and he goes, what about that area that we're working on with you? What about that behavior, that speech, that thought pattern? Do you want instant perfection from me? Do you want me to say, you got to fix it now? Or do you want me to be compassionate and give you time to fix it? Give some chances, give some grace. No? What we want from him isn't the same thing that we want him to give us. So things to keep in mind. Give him a chance to correct, give him time. Next thing is to get feedback from peers, and I would say get brutal, honest feedback. That's the best kind that you can get. Sometimes we have to pull our ego apart and just say, well, what's the content of what they're saying? But more feedback that we can get, the better we're gonna be. I also get it from the students and say, what do you guys like? And that's how I came to my routines. I asked them unanimously throughout the class, what does everybody like? We did the heads down, hands up. They really liked in religion class doing Bible chapter of the day, talking. How are you? So as I came in, they would sit down, they would read their Bible chapter of the day, they'd go through the whole New Testament, and then they'd write a few questions, things they learned about it, highlight a verse, and then I would just ask them. This is the most important thing that I can give you, by the way. Just talk to them. Get to know their names immediately. That was the first thing I did. Day one, you memorize everyone's name. The way I did that, I said, tell me your name. If you want to, share something about yourself. Otherwise, we'll pass it on. Don't put them on the spot. Just say, hey, if you want to share something cool about you, here's some examples. Give them a few minutes to think about it and then go around the classroom. They share, you be engaged, you ask follow-up questions, you care about them. Again, actually love the people. You talk differently, you listen differently to them. But once you learn their names and you start taking prayer requests, you start listening about their lives and you start remembering, oh yeah, Wilson's in basketball, so-and-so's doing this, so-and-so's doing that. And then you ask them about it, they see that you care, and when they see that you care, it builds up your relationship and it helps you build that bridge strong enough to teach them, to correct them, to help lead them. So Bible verse of the day, talk about how they are, and then we would pray about those things, offer them to pray. We would do the Lord's Prayer with hand gestures, the Apostles' Creed. We'd make it fun. Sometimes we say it super fast or do other things. We do the song of the day, so a worship song with the worship lyrics, which I've started doing that part with every group that I'm in. And then we would do a Christ-centered, gospel-centered lesson, and we'd close with the blessing. So we'll close with the blessing today. A few more things. One, again, the attention span's only so long. Yours is probably running out along with mine even as I'm teaching this. Make sure that you are giving them brain breaks. Give them a chance to recoup their energy, to refocus. Again, make sure we're writing things on the board. If they get lost, it lets them go, oh, here's where we're at. I zoned out. Next, make sure you have competition. That'll help with engagement. Anytime you can say, well, all right, we're going to compete for a donut. This is what I did with them yesterday. I had a few extra donuts from an event that we did, and I said, all right, you guys have seen stacking cups where they do it really fast and they put their hands down. Just put your hands down. Put your hand up if you know the answer. Don't just raise your hand and then go, oh, right? So raise your hand if you know the answer. And I had them do a memory challenge, and then that competition created engagement and fun, and I had to make sure I followed through and got them the food that I said they would. Speaking of which, with treats, one of the best things I've gotten to do for our students is every time I go grocery shopping and I go, that looks really good. I like those mini muffins. I like those Gusher fruit snack things, whatever. I would grab a whole package of them, bring them out to the checkout counter. Doesn't cost too much. And then you just bring them in the classroom. They get enough marbles and they get that. And if they start getting off track with the behavior, go, I really want to get you guys a snack. Don't you want a marble today? And they go, shh, and they focus in. Right? Find what motivates them and lean into it. Competition leads to engagement. Get treats. Do your routines, but do variation. For the songs that they sing with the worship, I ask them, which ones do you guys really like? Can you submit your own? When we do the lesson, sometimes we'll do videos, sometimes we'll do acting, sometimes we'll bring in stuff from Israel. But whatever you can do, switch it up within the routine. Get that brutal, honest feedback. And the last but not least thing is give yourself grace and compassion. The same way that you want your students to talk to themselves and talk to one another, it starts with how you talk to yourself. The way you want them to understand that Jesus loves them, that he delights in them, that he enjoys who they are. You need to realize those things for yourselves. They're never going to come to some sort of an epiphany on their own without you first getting to those places. If you want them to be hard workers, you've got to be a hard worker. But that compassion piece, that care for yourself, that mercy for yourself, that grace for yourself that says, you were at such and such age, of course you were only teaching this well. You had these other things going on. Have compassion and look at the situation like your best friend would and go, you're being a little hard on yourself, right? Lighten up and realize that God delights in you. He forgives you. He loves you. He's for you and not against you. And as much as you talk to other people that you love differently, realize that that's how he talks to you. For God so loved you, that he gave his one and only Son for you, that you may not perish, but may have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that he might save the world through him. God bless you, my friend.